Everybody wants you to believe that the world around you is kind, nice, docile. Everybody's got your back. The truth of the matter is, it's not. You are at war with those around you in most things in life if you want to win. You have competitors who want to kill you. You have competitors who want your mate instead of you. The hard truth about the world today is we're still humans that haven't evolved all the way from apes. We are trying to pretend like society is easy, like there is no undercurrent, like everybody wants to be your friend. And the truth of the matter is, that's not true at all. And so today I want to talk to you about what it actually takes to win, the things that nobody will tell you, because it's politically incorrect to say them today. But you don't come to this channel for me to tell you the things to make you feel good. You come to this channel to have the life that you actually want. Let's get into it, because 2026 is going to be either a bitch or your bitch. The truth of the matter is, to win, you have to suffer. There is no other way around it. It's going to be harder than you think. It's going to take longer than you think. You will lose friends, but you will also gain them in the end. And it will only be worth it because you kept going. There's a famous entrepreneur by the name of Ben Horowitz, and he wrote a book called The Hard Thing About Hard Things, where he says the most perfect line about entrepreneurship and leadership. He said, your job as a leader is mostly just getting all the way to the truth. And this video today isn't meant to be motivation. It's meant to tell you the thing that too many people on the internet will not tell you. And there's really 4 things. 4-hour work weeks, they don't fucking work. Everybody is trying harder than you think they are. There is more competition than you want, and most people do not communicate honestly. So I want to talk first about the people and the communication, because we have to live with the reality that the world is not always gentle and easy. Like that we have to be what Robert Greene, who was on this podcast, amazing episode if you haven't listened to that one, that you really have to be what he calls a strategic warrior, someone who deeply understands human psychology, who realizes not all of those who are close to you should be close to you, and who plays the game to win. So most psychologists will say that to be successful in life, you have to have difficult conversations, right? We've all heard that. You have to have conflict. I want you armed for that conflict with the 6 types of people that you will engage with as a leader. And there is this exact type of person, whether you lead your family, your friends, your community, a business. And I want you to notice these types of people when you see them, because you will win less if you do not. The first one is what I'll call the reactive responder. So this is a person who snaps quickly, who's always telling you how overwhelmed they are, who when asked how they are replies, I'm busy, who looks a little frazzled and frantic. You can almost always tell them even by their physiognomy, which is how they look. They kind of give off a little bit of the energy that says, oh, that wasn't me. Somebody else did it. It wasn't my fault. A little frantic like this, right? The second is the emotional empath. This is a person who says, they feel too much. Everyone else doesn't feel as much as they do. They cry in inappropriate moments. They do not fully understand what's going on in their own body, so they project it onto everybody else. So oftentimes you feel scared to bring something up with these people because you know they're going to be emotional when they respond, and so you've got to act like the adult. Then we've got the pleasing pushover. This person wants everybody to like them. They're the class puppy dog. They're always excited about what's happening, excited good, excited bad, trying to figure out what to do next. I think about the guy from The Office Space with the red stapler, Milton, who just wants other people to like him. This person, often called the doormat, because they do get walked over, and unless they change their ways, can often get pushed around. Then we've got the aggressive attacker. This person wins more often in the short term because they're super aggressive. They say everything they're thinking. They push people around. They're kind of a bully, right? We've all met this person. And because society has gotten more polite, the truth though is they will not get away with it forever. Long term, this type of person implodes. They're seen through and people will leave them. You'll notice them by the way they always speak the loudest in meetings, interrupt other people, use aggressive body language postures to push people around, get too close to you. Then we got the constant whiner. And this is a person who is always the victim. Everything is somebody else's fault. Someone is always wrong. Something is always wrong. When you ask how they're doing, they tell you about all the things that aren't going so great, or they'll give you a long oh, it's fine. Now, this person won't succeed big in life because nobody likes to be around whiners, and positive people statistically make more money. Lastly, the strategic leader. This is the rational fighter. They project calm when everything around them is chaos. They downregulate others. They hold firm when they need to. And this is what you want to be if you want to succeed in life. I'm sorry to say this, but don't listen to anybody else who says, oh, you can cry if you want to. Oh, you can just say your truth out loud. Oh, it's fine. No. those people will forever rent apartments and at most get to middle management. They will not have the happiest of marriages. And this is a cold, hard, ugly, brutal truth that if you want to be a real leader, you have to look other people in the face calmly in a time of chaos, completely unemotionally. And when they're upset, still feel like the ship captain in the middle of the storm. Like you are going to get them to the destination that they need to go to. This is what you need to be if you want to win. Half the job of winning is communicating intelligently, is having conversations nobody else is willing to have and having them like they are an easy day at the beach. Because most people will not hold the line. Most people will let their emotions run them. Most people will show you their stripes. Most people never do the difficult things that need to be done in order to have the life that they want to have. But that is not going to be you. What's fascinating is as you become this strategic leader, you'll start to notice which of these avatars are around you. And you'll figure out, like, I know how this person's going to react. I know how they're going to be when they sit at the table. I know what their next reaction is. And you'll be able to tell by somebody's reaction exactly what cards they actually have. I had one yesterday. A guy came in all upset. Oh, I can't believe you're doing business with this guy. He lied to me. He cheated from me. How could you do this? He was so overly aggravated. I realized, oh, what does Macbeth say? Thou doth protest too much. What does that typically mean? That guy might be doing a little lying, cheating, and stealing. And so most people will never pause to see the people around them in these difficult conversations, but that is not going to be you. The second thing I want us to bring into 2026 is this. Everybody is trying harder than you think. Like, you will never succeed just because you want to, just because you manifest it, just because you think you deserve it, just because you sit and flow. All of that is total and complete bullshit. How do I know? Because I know thousands of the most successful people in the world and nobody, not a single one of them have said they achieved it through flow state. That is like some craziness on the internet that somebody's trying to tell you while they're actually working way harder than you can ever imagine. They're like the duck on top of the water, paddling like a motherfucker, trying to get you to think that they just glide with the wind. Do not listen to them. Do not listen to the people that post their fancy cars, that show their beach photos every day, that say like, oh, eating a cheeseburger, but with a 6-pack. You're like, no, you're not. You're not doing that. They're working really hard. They're not eating that cheeseburger. And so everybody is trying harder than you think. And there's actually science behind this. So this is called the effort heuristic. So we assume others put in less effort than they actually did. This is from the University of Illinois. And the finding is we all assume that most other people put in less effort than they actually did, that it came easier for them than it actually did. But the truth is often quite the opposite. So like, for instance, I got to meet this famous person who I won't name because, I'm a lady, but, I didn't realize originally when I met this famous person that they wanted to compete with me. We became friends. I thought we were buddies. And they talked about, oh, everything's so amazing. We're growing so much. I've had all this success. And then I started hearing some snickerings around. And it turns out behind the scenes, lawsuits and fraud and things not going well and revenue numbers not real. And so don't believe everybody's highlight reel. Because there's also something called the iceberg illusion, which is 90% of the effort out there, you guys, it's invisible. Harvard and Berkeley did this study on what they call effort concealment, which is fascinating. Humans only see the visible 10% of someone's work. The remaining 90% is usually private, unshared, or hidden, which creates the illusion of this tiny little iceberg when in reality there's all this down below it. And this applies to everything: success, burnout, performance. So everybody else's highlight reel is making you think you're behind. But the truth is, you just aren't seeing their mess. Everybody's got one. You're competing against the top 1% you follow online, not the actual population, by the way. So it looks like everyone else is doing more than you. In reality, you're comparing yourself to outliers. And listen, this is so true. And just go try it. For instance, I saw this thing on the internet where a guy talked about how he used AI to do this crazy task. And it was so easy and AI did it 100% for him. And he made money using a robot. Then I had my entire 7-person YouTube team and I go try to recreate it. What do you think happened? We got $20 and a toothpick at the end of this thing. The AI didn't work. We're shaking hands. We're selling stuff hand to hand. We're going and picking it up. It's costing us more money than it's making us. It's just not as easy as people make it look. And so I just don't want you to think that you are rare because you're not achieving. You are actually like everybody else. There's something called the survivorship bias, which is you compare yourself to the winners, not the strugglers, right? So this is a famous study by Kahneman, which he has lots of econ studies. But the juxt of this one is that humans overlook all the people who quit, failed, burned out, and basically had worse outcomes. And for some reason, we have this bias, probably because it's what keeps us going, where you only see the ones that make it. So I promise you, everyone is working harder than you think they are, even if they make it look easy. Maybe especially then. If you think there's a single podcaster out there that's growing like crazy while not obsessing on it, I've got some fucking news for you. And the news is that ain't true. This is hard. And so there's more and better competition than you want. There's a beautiful truth. Even though there's more competition and even though everybody's trying, most people won't work as hard as is necessary to win. There are also, on the flip side, more people who are playing the game than you could ever imagine. Like everybody will tell you in the beginning, oh, you can go do it. And then what happens? Well, you ask them to buy your product and what do? Not buy your product. This is called optimism bias. Like you think you'll win more easily than the data suggests. And so University College of London had this study showing that humans systematically underestimate the risks, overestimate their likelihood of success, especially in competitive domains like business, athletics. Founders usually think their idea is special or different. Or have you ever heard anybody say, like, when you're like, who else does this? They're like, we don't have any competition. The science says you're delusional by design. This is why when founders come to me with ideas, I almost never look at the idea in our investment business first. We've invested in, 33 companies in one fund, 100 plus companies in our holding company. And I never vet only the idea. I vet the founder because the only real differentiator is you and how much pain you're willing to take. So, when we've looked at 1,200 deals a year, I know this to be true. The real screen happens on the you. So you have to be a little delusional. Otherwise, you won't make it. But you also got to know what's happening out there. You got to know about something called the overconfidence effect, that people think they're above average, which is statistically impossible. Not everybody can be above average, right? Like this is just math. I'm no mathematician, but I think that's how this works. And this is fascinating. There's this study from this guy by the name of Svensson in the 80s. Then it's been expanded and replicated dozens of times. The finding is 80% of people think they are above average drivers. 80%. 68% think they're above average entrepreneurs. Mathematical reality, only 50% can be. So your competitors think they're better than you, and some actually are. And even crazier, we gravitate to the same ideas, which is why when I look at investments and we help members of the boardroom scale their businesses, most of them are trying to tackle the exact same problems in the exact same ways. We have to work really hard to teach our 1% entrepreneurs how to get beyond that. And there's a famous Harvard Business School study called the Startup Gold Rush. And basically it says that people gravitate towards the same hard problems. So founders will do what's called clustering around high status ideas. So you guys could guess what that would be now. 2 letters, AI, right? Fintech, consumer apps. And what does this do? It creates this hyper competition, even when the founders, believe their idea is unique. And so this means if you're in a sexy space, you're competing with hundreds, thousands of smart people. If you're in a boring space, you're competing with less because boring is often not as competitive. Let's go to the math. So this is where the illusion sort of shatters. If you look at how many startups exist right now, let's look at all across the globe, right? So all across the world, 305 million startups are made every year. 100 million new businesses open annually, and there are currently 30 million active startups competing globally at any moment. That's why the nobody else is doing this is almost impossible. In the US, if you're like, well, not in the world, what about just the US? That's 5.5 million new businesses that were created in the US in the last year alone. 10 to 15% classify as high growth. That's 550,000 startups a year entering really competitive markets. And the number of new businesses, how much has it grown over the years? Well, since 2019, it's doubled. So either way, you have more competition than you want to admit, and some of them are better than you. And so when you realize this, it is okay to fail. It is okay to struggle. You're going to continue to win if you don't give up. But let's be reasonable about what the numbers actually are. If you want to have the life that you want, you've got to look the numbers hard in the face and decide anyway. That's why I want to come to this next one, which is 4-hour work weeks do not work. Now, I've become friendly with Tim Ferriss. I think he's the man. The book changed my life in many, many ways. He's a stud, super brilliant. And I think I'm very lucky to get to talk to him. That said, I don't think he actually believes that 4-hour work weeks are real. It was his theory and a framework and a formula for sort of escaping corporate monotony and not doing dumb work and leveraging your intelligence. But here's what the math says. 85 to 90% of businesses require active involvement. And startup and small business data sets show 85% of early stage companies require the founder to be daily involved in operations. Even the U.S. Small Business Administration and businesses under $2 million in revenue, you want to know how much the founders work? On average, 52 hours per week. That's 13x more than 4-hour work weeks. And if you go, okay, what about this thing called passive income that everybody is talking about? Well, according to the Federal Reserve survey, only 11% of Americans earn any passive income at all. And of those, 75% comes from real estate, requiring some management. So truly passive monthly income represents less than 1% of all income earned in the U.S. Translation, the passive income ecosystem that lots of people online talk about, it applies to 0.5% of the population for probably some small percentage of their total income. I'm not saying you can't do it. We have lots of different revenue streams. And in the boardroom, we teach people about getting lots of revenue streams in their business. But with zero work ever, I don't know. I haven't met it yet. And if we want to go really deep into this one, most of these automated businesses, you want to know what the failure rate is for them? 97%. The autopilot online businesses, like e-commerce, dropshipping, affiliate marketing, mini digital products, the data, most of these stores never actually make it. And what's fascinating about small businesses that we've realized over the last 5 years is most small businesses fail. 90% of them fail. And the reason why they fail is 2 reasons. They don't have an operating system, and they don't have advisors telling them where all the potholes lay. And so what we realized after talking to 14,000 entrepreneurs is if we could give founders an operating system plus advisors who had already been there, done that, we could increase the success rate of startups across this country. And so we did that in something called the Contrarian Boardroom, where we teach a couple hundred entrepreneurs per year who are on a path to do at least 7 figures or more in revenue, how to grow their businesses profitably, consistently, sustainably, with an operating system and advisors. If that sounds like you, go to the link below or go to contrarianthinking.co and apply to the boardroom. We are here to help entrepreneurship suck less and make more money. Now, what's fascinating about the data that I was talking about, Shopify says 95% of stores, they never make a single sale. Amazon Fulfilled by Amazon, so Amazon FBA, 90% fail rate. Or they plateau at, let me tell you how much, $100 a month in profit. So I think the truth of the matter is we overestimate how much money people are making. We do social comparison theory, where we compare our worst to other people's best. The University College of London says the brain defaults to upward comparison, meaning you compare yourself to people doing better. You ignore the tens of millions or, hundreds of millions of people doing worse. And like you and I, we use the wrong measuring stick. So I want you to remember this. Don't compare other people's highlight reel to your reality. And when it makes you think you're behind, remember you're actually not. Keep going, because the only way you fail is if you quit. But I promise you, some days you're going to want to, and 2026 is going to be your year if you do not.
So when you were going through it, you know, and you gotta, I think you said it, you're like, we gotta go to war. You know, we're gonna go to war with this person. And I think in business, there are moments like that. And people don't like to talk about it because it doesn't always have to be a zero-sum game at all. But there are moments where, like, you are called to sort of battle and to either win or lose versus somebody. So how do you do that in a way where you don't lose yourself in hateful emotions? Or are some moments you're like, nah, I'm fucking mad. We're going to be doing this in a moment. But the long game reason why we're doing it is positive.
I think love doesn't always mean that you don't protect, defend, right? Love can sometimes be violent even, right? Like I hate drama. I don't like problems with anyone. I like win-win-win scenarios. But if someone threatens my family or someone fucks with me, right? I'm not going to just be like, oh, I love you so much. Thank you for... No, it's like, that's not love at that point. Because if you threaten something I love and you threaten my truth, then it is actually love when I say, I'm going to bring justice and I'm not going to let you get away with that and I'm going to hold you accountable. And also when you're scaling a business, look, there are times, you know, we had Tinder such a passionate, loving environment, and we were like really close like a family, that it was like really hard for me to fire people. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs deal with this. And it took me a while to realize that I used to think that if someone's not performing and if I fire them or I hold them accountable, that I'm being mean and I'm hurting them. It took me a while to see that no, I'm actually being mean by not holding them accountable. Because love is also, hey, let me tell you what you're doing is wrong so that you can improve, right? I want you to be better. And maybe sometimes that means, hey, this isn't the right place for you. There's another place where you can thrive. It's not working out here. Leaving you in that position is not love. I'm just causing suffering. So I think, again, love isn't rainbows and butterflies.
Yeah. I think, have you read any of Arthur Brooks' stuff? We're kind of talking. You've got to. He has a book called Love Your Enemies. But he started an institute at Harvard, which is all about love. And basically, really interesting guy, head of AEI, the conservative think tank, left to go to Harvard and create this institute all about happiness and love. And
is that the happiness study? Yes, know a lot about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And
the 80-year happiness study.
Yeah.
Yes.
And he's fascinating because he's best buds with the Dalai Lama and also like on a first name basis with Karl Rove and Dick Cheney. You know, and so you have like a very odd juxtaposition of a human.
Yeah.
But he would, in a touchy-feely way, say it's the most powerful emotion out there, more than hate, more than vengeance.
Look, I mean, do you want to be a billionaire on a yacht by yourself with no friends, with no love in your life, with unhealthy relationships? Or would you rather be a millionaire or something less, but you have great relationships in your life, you have great love, you have meaning? Like, love is all there is. I mean, I know this is very like touchy-feely that I'm saying this, but like, it really is true that when you put your ego aside and you just pursue that kind of that flow, what your soul is gravitating you towards, like you're going to be happy. And doesn't mean that bad things won't happen, but you're going to have the energy to overcome them. And you're going to actually feel like those painful moments are making you grow. So I think another thing I'll say, and very much about, you know, this relates to Tinder, it's like, you know, we don't celebrate love and romance as much as we used to. Like I grew up watching rom-coms, romance movies. Like I was a lover of love. Like it was so beautiful. Now Now it's like we celebrate some other things, maybe some ego-driven pursuits. And what we need to like remember for anyone who's been in love, who's been married, who's had like a deep bond and a friendship, the high you get from that is like no other high. That's the best high to pursue. And that's a healthy high. The other highs are momentary, can lead to addiction, and can lead to your downfall.
Yep, it's true. Tanner just got married, so he probably feels this acutely. That was last weekend.
Congrats.
I know. I do think it's gotten a bad rap, which is interesting, and maybe
I don't know why.
We should dive into that a little bit. But you know, I've been married for 4 years now, but we've known each other since we were like 12, and
Amazing.
so yeah, and it's the greatest joy in my life. It's also very difficult at times, for sure, and the path to get here was anything but straight lined. But man, life is hard. And so having somebody you can rely on is incredibly beautiful. And that was like, you know, part of your goal at Tinder, right? I mean, we were joking about how you don't like if it's called a hookup app because you say it's not. That was not the purpose of it.
Well, just so much more.
Yeah.
I mean, were there more hookups as a result of us building this tool that connects people? Yes. But there were also more marriages, there were more friendships, there was more of everything. If you're 18 and on Tinder, you're not looking to get married. You might not even be looking to date. So, you know, you're going to, you know, Tinder was a reflection of who was using it. Yep. What we built is this highly effective way to connect people and bring down the barriers of connection. What you do with that connection, we never wanted to judge, right? Not hookups, not marriages, not dating. You know, we actually had a rule against saying that Tinder's a hookup app, a dating app, a marriage app, an anything app. Like, we did not want to define it because we saw ourselves as this very effective tool of making an introduction. What you do with it is completely up to you. We don't want to judge. It's not our place to tell you what to do with a relationship or where to go. That is up to the individuals.
So what do you think about what has become of online dating today? Like, we've got apps like Hinge, we've got apps like Bumble, and we've got apps like Tinder. Where do you think we have gone wrong in a society where we're having less sex than ever, we're getting married later and less often than ever, and we feel more lonely and disconnected than ever, and yet it's this easy?
There's I mean, if I could talk about this for hours. I don't think a decline in marriage, a decline in sex, I don't think is a byproduct of a product like Tinder. I actually think maybe Tinder is helping, you know, adjust the trend, prevent it from going down even worse. I think there's a lot of societal factors that are resulting in this. I think part of it is like, you know, we all are pursuing independence. Which is beautiful, right? I think we're more independent, more individual, and we have the power to sort of be who we want. And I guess, like, again, we forget that two people coming together is more beautiful than me sort of being whoever I want and doing whatever I want, right?
Yeah, it does feel like self-love has overcome
love. Yes.
Yeah.
And I think we forget that, like, the power of love between people, community, again, that's the greatest high, right? Sometimes that requires sacrifice of your personal ambitions and individuality. And sometimes that could be a positive thing because I think you create a community. You have to give a little bit of yourself to sort of come together as a team, as a community. But if you give a lot of yourself, that's bad, right? Or if you're compromising sides of yourself that you're not willing to compromise, that's bad. And I think maybe for a period of time, marriage and felt a little confining, a little too controlling for people. So we were sort of like entered this wave of like Don't control me. I am who I am. I want to pursue whatever I want. I want to do whatever I want, which is beautiful. But I feel like now we're coming back and remembering that, oh, while that's beautiful, making a relationship work and making a marriage work and making healthy friendships work will pay off so much. And so I think there's maybe a revival of love, at least I feel. A revival, maybe like a spiritual, romantic sense of community, relationships. People are starving for it.
I definitely feel like there's thirst. I don't know about the quenching yet. I heard this new term the other day, selfogamy.
What is that?
Which is like, instead of
Love yourself?
monogamy, it's just, you're in a unilateral relationship with yourself. I think it actually originated right
life.
here in LA.
Holy shit.
Of course, by a Hollywood actress, which I won't name because I'm not positive that was her. But there does seem to be this, I don't know what it is, in a world in which we have so many options, men and women aren't talking to each other in that way anymore. Now, you had a belief that Tinder was the right way to do it, as opposed to the way that, let's just use two examples, Hinge and Bumble are doing it. I thought that was really interesting. Can you explain why?
Well, first of all, Tinder's still the biggest, by far. Everyone else copied Tinder. So I don't think they're different. They're different around the margins. But let's examine what made Tinder work. Without Tinder, if there's someone I want to meet, I would have to walk up to them, put myself out there. I might get rejected. That might really suck for the person who has to reject me. But Tinder created this magical environment where, like, I could tell the matchmaker, the phone is like the matchmaker. Like, oh, I'm really interested in that person, but I'm not really, or if they're interested in me, then the matchmaker can say, hey, Sean and so, you both like each other, you should start talking. And that was like the innovation we called the double opt-in.
Which was revolutionary, right?
Which was revolutionary,
before, and that
right?
was your idea.
Yes, that was the core idea. Because before that, I would walk up to someone. It was like a numbers game. I might get rejected. I might feel bad about myself. I might make someone feel uncomfortable. I might be at a restaurant and like you could be with your friends and I'm with my friends, and it's weird for me to like interrupt your dinner. It was just very weird and confusing. And then the phone was kind of like making us more insular and like kind of taking us out, and we were losing those skills. So Tinder solved that by breaking down those barriers. And back then, before Tinder, you had online dating or dating apps, but they actually made that worse, because if I was on a Match.com, I could message anyone. So all that would happen is that example of me walking up to someone getting rejected became worse, because now I would message 5 people and none of them would respond, and I'd be like, fuck. Like, I feel like a loser, or I feel desperate. Oh. So Tinder really changed that game. And then after that, I mean, so like we created this industry, we created this movement, and then there were a lot of other companies that came after with maybe like an angle, or maybe thinking that they're fixing a problem with Tinder. That was like their marketing. I mean, all these other products, their marketing message, somewhat now, but especially when they're starting, was we are Tinder, but we have this one little feature.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's not really a company. I mean, like, where's the vision in that? Where is the imagination? And there's a reason they're not bigger than Tinder, because you're not doing something truly disruptive. And then I also find these other products, some of them to be very elitist. It's like you have dating apps where it's like, you can only be here if you're, college graduate. It's like, fuck off. Like, okay, like this is the dating app for Ivy League people. Or some of them are like, women are the only ones who can send a message first. And I'm like,
yeah, that
why?
fucking backfired a lot.
Yeah, very much backfired.
Now women are like, now they're pissed about that. So
yeah, it's like, why would you, why is that better for women? Like, so now you have to do more work, and now you have to put yourself out there more, versus, I mean, it just, and like, why is that better for the ecosystem? Why is that better for romance and love? some people go first and some people don't go first, and everyone's unique. And so I think Tinder was like this belief that like we didn't want to judge people, we didn't want to change people, we wanted to empower people to be themselves.
Yep.
But come together.
Yeah, I like it. Okay, how about the counter argument, which is, did we make a bunch of soft motherfuckers that now can't even go up to each other at a bar and ask each other out? Like, do we have real societal consequences from this?
It's a good question. I've struggled with that question a lot. I would say two things. One, like I was one of those soft motherfuckers who, didn't have the courage to walk up to someone.
Are you a nerd?
No, I wouldn't say I was a nerd. I was just like, I was too shy to walk up to someone, but like, if like the connection happened, I was no longer shy. Like, so it's like that like first
a little trigger.
Yeah, that first thing, that first push was hard for me. And so I think, you could say we're creating soft people, or you could also say that we're creating more connections and more love, and that is a beautiful thing.
Could be both.
Could be both. And then the other thing is we forget, okay, I match on Tinder, I still have to see someone in the real world.
True.
That still requires courage. That still requires me to put myself out there. So we're removing an element of a barrier. We're not taking away the challenge, the hardship in romance. That would be a horrible idea. Because people grow through those challenges. People come closer. If it was all rainbows and butterflies, we would just be floating around, and there would be no contrast, no risk, no flavor, right, to romance. So I think you don't want to extract that. You don't want to take those things away. But giving an initial nudge and bringing people together, all good by my book.
Yeah, I agree. So you would still create Tinder today? Like if it didn't exist, you would be like, yes.
100%.
Yeah, that's always good when you can look back over that long length of time and say.
I mean, we've created over 50 billion matches, probably more marriages than any platform in history, more hookups, more friendships.
Did you guys meet any of your people from an app? You did an elitist in the flesh.
Well, Tinder owns Hinge, so it's all good.
Oh, I didn't actually even know that.
Yeah, very few people know. Yeah, so
interesting.
Match Group owns Tinder.
Oh, yeah, they own everything.
Yeah,
which is
basically Tinder.
Copy. Quick FYI, we've got just a few months before my first ever book is out in the world. If you want to pre-order it for yourself or anyone you love, you can do that in the link in the show notes, or you can search it online. It's called Main Street Millionaire. You'll love it. I think it'll make you a lot of money, and I hope you guys pre-order it. Okay, so what about, we've kind of I mean, I'm not professing that either one of us are dating experts or projecting that onto you. I know you're happily married. You've
Everyone
been out of the
thinks
game
I am. I'm not.
Maybe that could be your next iteration. But do you think that there is a specific role that a man and a woman should play in the first part of dating in a relationship?
I don't think there's rules. But I think there are universal laws of energy. And each of us have masculine energies and feminine energies in us. And I think if we're both showing up with the same energy, it's like positive will knock us away. So I think love and romance is a dance. I think a great example someone gave me, it's like, relationships are like this. There's a giver, there's a receiver, and you're switching. If you don't have that interplay, then I don't think you can have magic. And I'll say something maybe controversial, but I do think that we also, maybe it's evolution, but there are desires that men have and desires that women have, and they are different. And those should be respected and celebrated. Those shouldn't be demonized. And I think, men want to protect, want to feel like they are valued as a protector, as someone bringing safety to those around them. And sometimes, and yeah, there's like bad men, there's bad examples, but this attack on masculinity, so bad for society.
Yep.
Right? As would an attack on femininity would be so bad on society. And it's just like, anyone can be whoever they want, be whoever you want. But at the same time, let's recognize that like you have these polarities in all relationships, romantic or not romantic. You have a desire to protect, you have a desire to nurture. And I think if there wasn't that interchange, and just life's not as beautiful. Sometimes I'm nurturing to my wife, and my friends might look at me and say you're whipped or you're feminine or you're whatever, but that's fine. And sometimes I'm protection mode, and I want to just take care of her and protect her and nurture her in a different way, and that's all fine.
No, I don't think that should be controversial.
No,
actually.
It's not controversial.
I think it's good that we could say that we can say the quiet part out loud.
Yes.
And especially if people who have achieved, post-economic success, who have built things that matter in the world, can't say the quiet part out loud, we're really in trouble as a society.
We have to be able to express ourselves and be honest with each other.
Yeah, and there's things called math and physics and science, and I think in some regards it's all a question, but it is bizarre to me the things that are controversial today that make no sense. But I am sitting in California, so I'll be careful. Otherwise, maybe I get too censored. I want to get actually to a little bit more of that later, talking about what's going on in the world today from your perspective, because we've had some cool chats on that. But I want to round out this dating part. You have seen, you've been on the inside to more matches, more information on humans to coming together to find love of some sort than probably most humans alive today. What advice would you give to somebody trying to find a partner today? Because I see so many desperately seeking it.
Number one, be authentic, be yourself. Don't front. You don't want someone to like you for something you're not, because eventually they're going to find out who you really are, right? You want someone to love you for who you are. And that's number one. Number two, I would say, be curious, ask questions. It's not you're there to get to know someone else. The most effective, pickup lines never worked on Tinder. They were just laughed at. What did work is, if I was looking at your profile and I noticed something in a photo, I noticed something about you, and I asked you a question about that, and I showed you that I actually care about you. And then I wasn't fronting, right? And I was being real, and what I was projecting in my profile and my photos was the true me, the real me, the everyday me. So I think that's one thing. The second thing is maybe don't give up so easily, because I think we have this false notion that relationships are sort of like the honeymoon phase has to always be the thing, or else there's something wrong. Maybe this person's not right for me. Maybe someone else is right for me. And I think the reality of all relationships, there are problems. Two people coming together is a hard thing, right? There are always areas of yourself that you are going to be pushed to improve, because someone's like putting a mirror in front of you, and that's growth. There are areas of yourself that you need to let go of. That's growth. And if you give up too easily, you're actually not going to grow. You're not going to grow together. You're not going to grow as an individual. So it's like, there's this great meme I saw on Facebook a while ago of this old couple in bed together, very, very old, and they're asked, why are you still together after 60 years, and why are other people struggling so much? And I think the woman in the relationship said, because we come from a generation when something is broke, we don't throw it away, we fix it. And I think in a sense, like, we are all here to fix things inside of us, and we are all here to improve. And if you're not willing to self-reflect and change and evolve, you're not growing. And again, it goes to this, like, this individualistic pursuit of, I am who I am. Don't tell me to change. It's like, okay, there's some beauty in that. There's a lot of beauty in that, of course. No one should ever force you to be someone you're not. No one, but there also has to be a recognition of, well, maybe your shit stinks a little bit.
Exactly.
Like, maybe who you are is not that. Like, I'm not the same person I was in any year of my marriage, and my wife pushed me to change and evolve and fix so many things, and that hurt. But now I look back and I'm like, thank you, because I love myself so much more.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's beautiful advice and very honest, and a lot of people don't take it, because I love the idea about not giving up later in relationships. Mm-hmm. I also think that's probably pretty true in the beginning of trying to find one.
Yeah.
There's this whole incel movement, right? Mm-hmm. Where people online, I was just on Twitter today, really healthy place if you want to look up things like this, but they were talking about how increasingly men don't have a choice, that there is this whole group of men that even if they want to have sex, they cannot. And then, they all kind of pile onto a thread and start agreeing with each other about all the reasons why women are awful, they won't sleep with them, they should, etc. So now they're just opting out entirely. And I find that to be such a fascinating phenomenon. That's
sad. I think that means those men need to evolve, and those men need to take the feedback. If there's something they're doing, it's great. That's like a great sign. Like, you got to change. Something you're doing isn't working, and you're not able to attract someone, then I think you're doing something wrong. I have a friend, my really good friend, I'm not going to say his name.
Who's an incel?
No, I wouldn't say he's an incel, but he is struggling. He's older. He wants to get married.
Okay.
And I was talking to him the other day, and I'm like, well, let's just take inventory. How many people have you dated in the last 5 years? And he's like, 25. And none of them have worked out. That's some pretty bad odds. So let's try to understand why. How many, if you were to bucket the reasons, and he's like, well, half of them I didn't end up liking, and half of them, maybe they didn't end up liking me. It's like, okay, so let's look at that. Either you're way too picky, or you're doing something to turn off a lot of people. And he didn't want to accept that, because he didn't want to accept there's something wrong with him. And but that's why he's still single.
Did you break through?
I think I broke through. Statistics, numbers sometimes can wake people, data can wake people up. But, and I think he changed his mindset, and now, he realized he needs to be more forgiving, less picky. He also has things about himself that he needs to temper. And now he's in a very happy relationship.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and it happened very quickly. So I think there's this element of you have to be honest with yourself. It goes back to what we were talking about in companies. If you have a company where I'm not able to tell you, I'm not comfortable enough to tell you that, hey, you did something wrong, or I think you need to improve that thing, and let's have a discussion about it, then you're just going to walk around doing the same thing you're doing, and I'm lying to you, and I'm just going to grow resentment, and we're not going to come together. You're just going to kind of go your path, I'm going to go my path. But it's through that tension that we get closer. Through that tension, we find common ground. Through that tension that we change. And that's a beautiful thing. There's nothing wrong with that. That's evolution. That's society. That's romance.
What's interesting is I remember you were talking back in the day about how Tinder tried a few different things. You guys tried to be a friendship making app at one point. And what you did right there is something that I think a lot of people do not do today, which is tell the thing that their friend does not want them to hear to their face.
Yeah.
And you did it rationally and in a way that you could
Kindly,
rationally, numerically, which
Yeah.
I think is a nice way to say it. You also had sort of a framework, like let's take inventory, which is like not let's talk about your faults. It's like let's just analyze the situation and then let's bucket it and then let's see what could be a downward stream of that. But I wonder if one of the problems of dating today is the fact that we're not willing to have those conversations with our friends, maybe.
Yeah, vulnerability, which I think goes back to, you asked me what brings people together or what people miss in dating. When I said be yourself and be authentic, that means be vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I think this is like, people think like, oh, I gotta like put on a front, I can't be vulnerable. And that's courage and that's strength. Vulnerability is strength. It takes a lot more courage to sort of show up and say, I really suck at this thing. I really want to improve here, or this is who I really am. And you might not like that about me, but I want to be honest with you. So I think honesty is a beautiful thing. And you have to be kind. No one wants, you can't be harsh with your friends. You can't be judgmental. But you're not kind to your friends and you're not loving if you're just never giving them feedback or never being vulnerable with them and soliciting feedback. That's not what a relationship is about.
Were you always sort of more empathetic like this, or was young Sean totally different than this Sean?
No, I think I was always okay with people. Well, okay, so it's double-edged sword. I grew up in a family, Middle Eastern. Middle Easterners love hard and hate hard.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of like, I love you, I die for you. But there was also a lot of like, why are you in a room and why aren't you going to do something with your life? And why aren't you, there's a lot of like, in your face judgment. So I think I always felt comfortable if people came to me and said like, what's wrong with you? Why aren't you doing it? And I never saw it as like my feelings, or I saw it as like, oh, okay, so like you're telling me I need to improve something. Like that's going to make me better. Now, as I got older, I recognized that maybe there are healthier ways of doing that than kind of be in your face and abrasive. That doesn't always work. So I've always been honest with people, and I've always wanted people to be honest with me. And if I ever felt that there was a fake connection, it would make me really unsafe and uncomfortable, like you're hiding something from me, or, I hated that. But I think as I got older, I learned to communicate better.
Yeah, a little softer around the edges.
Softer, more productive. And I think that's, again, you can't, no one wants to work with someone who's an asshole. No one wants to follow someone who's an asshole. But also no one wants to follow someone who's inauthentic and a liar and just like a politician. And,
right.
Like you don't trust that person. At Tinder, I would always say like, I'll never trust is when someone is vulnerable with me and says, I don't know how to do that. So like if my team would come to me and say, if I gave them a task and they would say, I don't know how to do that, that was rewarded. Love you. I'm here to help you. Let's figure it out. But if someone said, I got it, right? And deep inside, like, fuck, I have no idea what they're doing. And then they go on and mess up. Well, then I can't trust you.
Yep.
Right? So trust is built through vulnerability, through my transparency, through honesty. In a relationship, in a company, you have to have trust. And you can't have trust without vulnerability.
No, it's true. And without really hard conversations.
Absolutely.
Like, I do kind of think that your bank account becomes a reflection of how many difficult conversations you're willing to have.
Yes.
And it's tiring.
And how much difficulty you're willing to endure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and how many sycophants you let stay around you as you get more successful.
Yeah.
I think one of the hard parts about continuing to run companies is people tell you what you don't want to hear all the fucking time if you're doing it right. And so does the market, which is a real blast. But I do think that's how you get better as a human, which is why like the game of business is so incredible, sort of like the game of relationships.
Yeah.
Both of them are one of the fastest scalpels to like cutting yourself into the type of human you want to be, it seems like.
And I think I was always like very soliciting of feedback. It's like, give me more, give me more, give me more. And I think that's what created this very special culture at Tinder where everyone felt like they had a voice and everyone felt included and everyone felt empowered and like they weren't hiding and it was very meritocratic in that sense. It's like, you know, rank didn't matter, ideas mattered.
I love that.
You know,
how do you feel about hierarchical cultures, one line of communication versus distributed cultures and multiple lines of communication from a leadership perspective?
I think your companies that believe that the best ideas come from the top are foolish. And if you're not creating an environment where the like you're sucking information up, right, from the customer up. Like for me, I like we had people who started at Tinder as an intern and within a few months ended up running an entire team.
That's amazing. Wow.
And the simple reason is like, okay, you were allowed to come into my office or go talk to anyone. We didn't have rank or rigidity. We had structure. We had kind of think of it as like in a sports analogy, we knew what the goal was, we knew what success was, and we all knew what our role was, and we had trust that we're each going to play our role. But at the same time, there was nothing wrong with someone saying, hey, I'm playing this role, but I actually think I could do something great over here, and we're ignoring this, and I could help us win if I could go do that. Yep. And it's like, great, go do it. Like if you have a plan, you have a great idea, I don't care who you were, I don't care how much experience you had. We really, that's the environment everyone wants to work in. No one wants to be a cog in a machine. Everyone wants the freedom to express, but you also have to have respect, right? So as much as we had this open culture where anyone can critique each other, marketing was able to go to product and say, the product you built sucked. Product was able to go to marketing and say, you don't really represent the product I built well. And there was no offense taken. As much as we had that, and that made us better, that tension, we also had a ton of respect. Like, I respect that this is your call to make. I'm going to be honest with you. So I would always say, as a leader at Tinder, like, your job was to get everyone's feedback. Your job is to make the call. But if you're not getting all the feedback and all the data points, then you're not making a great call. And if you undermine someone because of their identity, their age, their experience, then you're actually just not a great leader or listener, right? It's like you want to empower everyone to rise up and be the best they can. And that's when everyone succeeds.
Were you guys all in the office together?
Yeah, absolutely.
How do you feel about remote versus in-person teams?
Struggle with this a lot. Remote works for certain things, and maybe it works after you sort of have your groove. But I think it's very hard to build a culture remotely. It's hard to innovate remote. It's hard to have those honest conversations, you know? So I think remote doesn't work for a lot of things. It works for some things, but it doesn't work for a lot of things. And we definitely wouldn't have built Tinder if we were remote, that's for sure.
I also am not convinced it makes people happy.
No, I mean, why would it?
I think people think that
Want to be on an island by yourself?
Yeah.
Who said I'm so happy, kind of like drop me off in the middle of nowhere on an island by myself?
Put me on Zoom calls because that helps.
Yeah, put me on Zoom calls. I have no interaction, no growth. And, you know, again, it goes like, great, we're promoting individuality and freedom and everything. But if you use that individuality and freedom to isolate yourself, it's probably a horrible idea.
Path to misery. So I talk a lot about business buying and I get a lot of questions about it. One of the most common ones is, where do you find a business to buy? My answer is sad, because the worst deals are oversaturated marketplace sites, but the best deals are off-market or curated deals. Either way, finding a business to buy usually kind of sucks. I think it should suck less, actually. So that's why we invested millions in this company. It's called BizScout, a business buying marketplace full of the best deals for both on and off market businesses. It's brand new, it's built different, and we've got verified buyers. So what does that mean? That means the best sellers that are actually interested in listing will get responses. We've got scout sites, aka at a glance, what's the quick analysis of this deal? We've got off-market data, so you can get all the info you need to do direct outreach efficiently. We've got embedded lending, so you can get your own financing for the business right where you buy it. BizScout is brand new, so go check it out, because we're going to be adding so many features over the coming years. And I hope that in the future, with you guys and your feedback, we change the face of Main Street buying and selling and turn a few thousand more people into owners while we do it. Because you're a Big Deal listener, you actually get some goodies. So go to the link in the show notes if you want to see BizScout and if you want to think about buying or selling a small business. I actually stand by this decision. I had a chance to invest in Robinhood way back in the day. But I'm glad I didn't, because that is one platform that I actually do not think is better for society. I think it is worse.
I could see that. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
I don't think there is anything good that comes from day trading or rapid action stock investing.
I agree.
And I think that gamifying the stock market that way is by and large really bad for society.
I was day trading when I was 16. Took like my bar mitzvah money, and I took like $5,000 and grew it into $1 million.
What the fuck, Sean?
Yeah, day trading, and then I lost it all.
Oh my
So I think it just showed day trading, high risk business.
Did you cry?
I was really sad. It was actually my grandma. My grandma was like, sell it, walk away, because like I was trading penny stocks, which are like the highest risk shit you could do. And like a few of them hit, and I was like, holy shit, I just made $1 million. This is insane. And my grandma's like, sell it. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. This is going to keep going up. And then it all went to zero.
Wow. That is how that goes. That's the commercial.
I think I got
my
my $5,000 out. But,
wow. Yeah. You got well, and you did better than most people do.
I learned.
And then you never day traded again?
No.
Yeah, that's probably a good lesson.
It's a stressful game.
It's a very stressful game.
Very stressful game.
Well, even my friends who are hedge fund managers, I used to sit on the board of one of their hedge funds. I'm like, this is awful. Like,
horrible.
You know, instant liquidity, intraday stress, intra-second stress.
Yeah. You can't even like sit and have lunch. You're just like, oh, what's about to happen?
The only thing that's like slightly almost as bad as that, or maybe worse, is being a CEO of a public company. I can't think of a fucking thing worse, actually.
Fires. Yeah, I think my life for the most part, Tinder, was wake up, take a breath, take my phone, and be like, all right, what fire.
I bet.
I got to put out. There's always something.
Yeah, and then the problem is you've got all these perverse incentives because short-term goals, long-term goals, shareholders, that's a tough game.
Different personalities, different, getting everyone to come together, deal with their differences, sort of.
No doubt why more people are going public later. Mm-hmm. Because I think if you had a chance, like if you could do it again, would you have, you guys probably needed the capital.
No, I think we followed a good course.
You did. How long were you from start to IPO?
6 years. By the time we IPO'd, was I think
fast.
Yeah, Tinder was a very, very fast journey. I think if I, one thing I tell a lot of people is this idea that a business has to do this. It's just like an unhealthy idea. Some of the greatest businesses grew one day at a time, slowly, and that's how all businesses grow, right? And if I had the choice of rocket ship over 6 years or maybe something that's a little more balanced over 12 years, I probably would pick a little more balanced over 12 years because, it's not for the faint of heart when something, building any company is hard. Yep. It's just a lot harder when you're growing at the speed of light.
Yeah, and everybody's watching you.
Everyone's watching you, everyone's critiquing you, everyone's attacking you.
Yeah.
You know, it's not, yeah, really, really tests you.
Yeah, my dad always had the best line about entrepreneurship because he played the small business owner entrepreneur forever. It sounds like kind of like your dad.
Yeah.
And, you know, and he would always say, higher levels, bigger devils. And
true.
I think it's true.
More money, more problems.
Yeah, in the famous words of, is that Biggie?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Okay, show how not cool I am now. Me asking you if I'm a nerd. I don't know the lyrics to that song. Yeah, I think, you know, I don't think it's easy. I do think it's worth it. And we kind of shared a love over this idea of community small businesses. People getting back into their small local businesses.
Yeah.
Do you want to blow up your local LA coffee or tea shop, or are we going to keep that private?
Keep that private.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Well, we
yeah.
can talk about it. Well, I'm investing in a local coffee shop because I love coffee.
Yeah.
And I love the team, and I love what they're doing. And I think I was telling you, it's like the enjoyment and love I'm getting from 2 coffee shops,
Which are tiny, right?
which are tiny. I mean, like, it's weird. It's like, yeah, I built this massive company, hundreds of millions of users all over the world, and, you know, but I like these 2 coffee shops. Like, the joy is equal. You know, it's like, put the money aside, the passion, the joy, the camaraderie. That's what it's about. And, you know, you don't have to be a massive company to have that.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, I often say this to people, like, I'm very fortunate, very grateful for what I have and what I've achieved. But at the same time, I would give up so much of it just to go back to the early days of building Tinder.
That's crazy.
Because, like, yeah, the energy, the love, the camaraderie, the like, that is the greatest high. Yeah. And you could feel that if you're building a local coffee shop. You could feel that if you're doing something philanthropic. It's all about connecting. You know, it's all about love. It's like when you're flowing and doing something you love with people you love, there's no greater gift.
Yeah, I also think there's really something cool about being able to touch it. Like,
yes.
That's why I love small businesses. You're like, that's mine, right there. It's in my local community. Yeah. I can engage with it. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes with tech, harder to touch.
Yep.
With finance, harder to touch in some ways. And I do think we do a huge disservice for telling people these days that, hey, unless you get Silicon Valley cash, unless you go VC backed, unless you're on the cover of Forbes, you're not a success.
Huge disservice.
And, like, how many friends did you have coming up? Did you watch never make it?
I mean, I'm the only one of all my friends who's done something of this scale, and it doesn't mean I'm happier. You know, you know, I've done something of this scale, but I also took on way more pain. So there's no right answer. I mean, it's like, look, at the same time, I think we want to all be ambitious, but ambition doesn't mean take, make a lot of money, right? I think when you cultivate this attitude of, I want to create value, I want to give value to my community, I want to do something I love and share it. And yeah, I want to make money for it, but, like, and the money matters because I want to, like, put that back into doing more of what I love.
Yeah.
That, like, circuitry, that flow, that's the magic. But, like, when you have this attitude of, like, I want to make more money and, like, accumulate wealth and then go buy a yacht and, like, everyone's going to come kiss the ring and do all this shit, or, like, buy the Ferrari and whatever, you're going to end up pretty miserable. I know I didn't grow up with money. I know a lot of people with a lot of money, and there's absolutely no correlation with money buying you happiness. Yeah. I think at a certain point, you know, money will buy you happiness because it gives you freedom, but then there's total diminishing returns. So chasing that is like the wrong focal point. Chase giving, chase meaning, chase purpose, chase love, chase camaraderie, and then the money will flow in. Or it may not, which is fine too, as long as you could support yourself and, you know, afford freedom. But I think this obsession with the reason I become an entrepreneur is to make money is just, it's wrong. The reason I become an entrepreneur is to solve a problem I really care about. And I need money to solve that problem. And I want to be rewarded. Money is the currency oftentimes that shows that I'm creating value and offering value. But like, it's like money's also a false idol. It's like, don't worship idols. Yeah. Worship something greater, love.
And I think being in business is just such a cool chance to see what you're capable of.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think there's anything more fun than trying to see what can I wring out of this. Like,
Yes.
what else I got in there? I don't know.
Absolutely.
And like, let's see, and let's take it. And maybe
Pushes
what I
you.
got is an incredible coffee shop that I'm obsessed with, and I get to know all my local members and create this beautiful experience. And that is like rigging a drive for me.
Well,
You know?
I will say, no matter what you're doing at what scale, you want to push to the edge of discomfort. Because complacency and stagnation is death. And if you're not challenging yourself, you're going to feel a little dead inside. So whether it's financially, whether it's with your passion, even if it's like one coffee shop, right? Push the limit. What more can you do? Innovate, like extend yourself, think bigger. And you might take some loss or take some pain, but still, at least you're living.
Yeah, 100%.
You know?
And plus, it's so fun. I mean, with our teams right now, we're back in an office in Austin, and there's nothing like that first start. This little business that we have is new. It's only like 3 years old in the media company, and we're all in the office together. And it's a cool, tiny office, and you know everybody's name in the company. And like, the sad part is if you've never had a business before, when you're first in that, you don't actually realize, oh, this little moment right here is so magical.
That's everything.
Yeah, it's like the first walk of the toddler.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get it back. And
You don't get it back.
And
Cherish it.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'd go back if I could.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
One of the most depressing and rewarding days of my life was I walked into the elevator, and I remember it was like the first time one of our employees walked in, and I was like, I don't know you. Like, hi, I'm Sean. It's like, I didn't even know who hired the person. Like, we got so big. I'm like, in the beginning, it's like I hired every single person. I knew everyone. And it's like that camaraderie, that connection, that love. And it's hard to keep that as you scale. I mean, that's the challenge. That's the goal. But yeah, you got to cherish what you have. Like, being small is not bad.
Did you ever have a moment where somebody didn't know you? Like, as
in the I had some funny moments. I had some really funny moments. I had a moment where someone asked me if I could fix a printer. Like, I think they thought I was the IT person. I actually ended up fixing the printer. And then they found out I was the CEO, and literally everyone was fucking with him. But he was like so nervous, like, oh my gosh, I asked the CEO to fix a printer. Like, I mean, we were all laughing about it, but yeah, that's
got to be a weird point in the company.
Weird.
I've never had that one yet.
Weird. Hopefully you will soon.
Jeez.
Again, bittersweet stuff.
Okay, I want to play some fun, weird games.
Okay.
You ready?
Yes.
Careful. You said that very easly. You don't know what kind of game it is, but I don't think you're going to hate this one. Okay. So, well, you actually are, because it's very goofy. This is Rachel's idea. We'll blame Rachel for this one. All right. I'm going to give you business ideas to start in 2024.
Okay.
And you're going to tell me if we should swipe right or swipe left on that.
Okay, let's go.
But first you have to tell me, because I'm so old and I've never used it, which one's yes and which one's no.
Right is yes, left is no.
Right is yes, left is no.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll see if I can get this.
Okay.
All right, these were submitted by a bunch of people online to see which ideas Sean likes.
Okay.
All right, we're just going to go right into these. Virtual reality meditation retreats.
Swipe right, but very hard to get right.
Yeah, got it. Okay. Blockchain-based voting system for corporate decisions.
Swipe left because it's a pipe dream.
Great. Personalized nutrition plan app using DNA analysis.
Swipe right, but it already exists.
Oh, interesting. Are you invested in it?
No, I passed on it, but there's a few people doing this.
Oh, okay. Why'd you pass?
I just wasn't sure the market was big enough.
Interesting. AI-powered personal stylist app.
Swipe left.
Interesting. Why?
Because I think it's not something AI would be really good at, and I think there's certain things you're not going to. Creativity is AI is not there.
Yeah, it's not going to be the share wardrobe.
No.
Oh, okay.
And also, it's most people don't have this problem. It's a small problem.
Yeah. Plus a cheap problem. Like, I don't know, you either have to have a few amount of people pay you a ton.
Exactly.
A lot of people are probably not going to pay at all.
Yeah. Now, human stylists, good idea.
Okay. Subscription-based exotic pet rental service.
In theory, cool, but probably it makes a lot more sense for me to go somewhere to see the exotic pet. I don't think you want to rent it and put it into your house. So I mean, it exists. It's called a zoo.
Yeah.
So I would say swipe left.
No alligators on speed dial. Okay. Are there any businesses right now, because you're actively investing, that you're like, God, I'm really interested in somebody doing X, Y, Z?
I think businesses that are creating experiences in the real world for us to come together are very good ideas, because we talked about this. I think more than ever, we are craving real world experiences with friends, and that space hasn't really been disrupted. Of course, we have our museums, we have our restaurants, but I think that we haven't sort of reached the point of creativity and imagination on all the different circumstances and reasons we can come together.
Yeah.
So I think businesses that are creating community are going to be adopted very quickly.
Yeah. Like the
Real world community.
like the Disneyland of 2024.
Yes.
Yeah. In very niche ways.
Yes.
Interesting.
New ways of
double
coming
down on
together.
that.
Yeah.
So when I first asked you why you're even willing to do interviews again after being offline for forever, we kind of talked about maybe some concerns about society, and like you were like, I want to talk about bigger things. Do you want to talk a little bit about why you were interested in coming online again, and maybe a little bit about what you see in the world that you want to push back on?
Part of it is like my wife, because she's like, I'm tired of listening to you, like go talk to other people. So, because I have like a lot of, my mind is a bit of a storm of thoughts and ideas.
And you want to beat them up publicly.
Yeah, and I think you got to get it out. You got to express. But part of it is because I do think, and we talked about some things that are not obvious, and we could go into the wrong direction. You know, meritocracy versus bureaucracy, or meritocracy versus communism, communistic ideologies, independence versus community and togetherness, like top-down leadership versus bottoms-up leadership. I think there are, sometimes I get depressed by some of, the things I see, and I just feel like I'll feel better if I at least can say my piece on some of these topics. We didn't get into politics. We probably shouldn't get into politics. It's the wrong venue, but I think a lot of these ideologies metastasize into politics. And one thing I will say about politics is that I think we take for granted how brilliant our founding fathers were. And I think we assume that what they were experiencing or fighting against was an old thing, rather than taking the viewpoint that America is so beautiful, so remarkable, so amazing. Our founding fathers are like the OG founders, like they're the founders we should celebrate. And the ideas, the vision that they had are still relevant today. And America is very fragile, and what happens here impacts the entire world. We are the beacon, and I think we all need to take a little more time to think through concepts rather than just grabbing them and latching on to them, and a little more individual thought a little more stepping back and asking questions and researching and learning and understanding and discussion, and a little less of polarity and like, you belong to that camp and I belong to this camp, so I don't want to hear what you have to say. Cancel you, cancel you. Like, one of the most beautiful things that made America is freedom of speech, freedom of debate. And like we were talking about with Tinder, it's like we had this honest, open environment. And through that, we got better because we could discuss, we could disagree, and we can find a deeper truth. So I think sometimes just like our political environment is really depressing and backwards and not the energy that created this amazing country to live in.
Yeah, you know, did you see Naval's quote the other day? I really liked it. He said something along the lines of, like, the real tax is politics demanding that otherwise productive humans pay attention to it today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true in some ways, because whether or not you care about politics or not, politics today cares about you.
Absolutely. And I think we all need to care more, and I pray that more people participate and in productive ways. Like, look, once upon a time, our politicians were not professional politicians. They were people who were doing one thing but felt a calling. Sometimes the best leaders are the ones that don't want the job. Oh, yeah. They do it for a greater reason. It's not because like they're pursuing that job. And now we're in an environment where you have a lot of professional politicians. And I think we need a new energy. I'm not saying professional politicians are great too. I mean, that takes a skill. That's amazing. But I think like people are demanding more authenticity, more realness, more representation, more. And I think the only way to do that is like, we got to all get involved. Like, we got to participate in productive ways, in peaceful ways, and not in a way of antagonizing another side, exactly, but in a way of expressing our views and inviting feedback and wanting to discuss. Because the opposite of that is bureaucratic. The opposite of that is an attack on free speech. Like, there's this great quote that I think a lot about. It's one of my favorite quotes growing up from Winston Churchill. He said, courage is what it takes to stand up and speak, but courage is also what it takes to sit down and listen. And I think a lot of people embody one side of that, but they don't embody both. And strength is both.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of easy points to be gotten today, too, on social media by galvanizing, quote unquote, your side. Mm-hmm. And I think it's hugely toxic. And I've seen people that I respect so much in so many ways come out and say, I mean, I saw a gentleman that I respect on Twitter the other day. He said, I talked to MAGA so you don't have to. And then inserted a bunch of like ludicrous text exchanges he had with a member of this particular side or party or affiliation or whatever you want. And I just asked the question, what do you hope to gain from this? Because you don't want to get to know what 50% of the country thinks on one side or the other
or
side.
You dismiss, or I mean, it's the craziest thing to lump half of the country on either side. Label them, dismiss them, and say you're not even worthy of a discussion.
And dehumanize them.
It is horrible. That is horrible. That's not, this country was created on debate, on healthy debate, on different perspectives coming together for a greater good. Yeah. And you're not going to get that with polarity, division, and name calling and writing off people and picking a side.
No, it's true. But I really made sure that I didn't unfollow him, because I read a statistic that one side versus the other, I won't say which, doesn't actually follow anyone from the other side. And that is so dangerous, because then you never get that competition of ideas that leads to a sharpening of a diamond, right?
Exactly. Great analogy.
And I think it's really sad that that's what's happening. And you know, you know him, I don't, but I have a lot of respect for Elon for allowing this marketplace of ideas to exist.
Yep.
And is there crazy stuff on there that I don't agree with? Yes. Yep. Actually, horrific things on there.
Same, I agree.
I mean, you're Jewish. There's stuff on Twitter about Judaism that I think is abhorrent.
Yeah, a lot
And
of anti-Semitism.
Yet I would protect their right to say it.
Yeah.
The same as I would them to say bad things about Catholics or women or whatever. Because as long as we're not inciting violence, we have to believe in this idea of free speech.
Absolutely. I mean, look, violence is where it stops, right?
That is where it stops.
Right? Like if you're promoting pain or you're endorsing hurting someone, like fuck off.
Yeah.
Right? But if you're expressing your views, even if I vehemently disagree with them, I'd rather you express them so I can talk to you about why I disagree, rather than let you silently, think something that is incorrect. So it's like sunlight is the best disinfectant.
It's true.
And I think that is true. And like, there's a reason freedom of speech is the First Amendment. Free speech, free will, individuality, God, family, community, these are some of the values that America was created on. Unity, respecting our differences, finding the common good. And it was very much in response to a bureaucratic structure that said, you are in a place in society and you can't move. And there is no meritocracy. America is the greatest meritocracy ever. And I think we discount how important meritocracy is to innovation, to growth, and meritocracy being like no matter who it's coming from, the best ideas rise to the top, and those who work the hardest and make the biggest contribution are the ones who should be recognized and rewarded, not rewarding based on some place you sit in society or some identity. So I think identity politics is really bad. Do you
ever get in trouble with that here in California? Do people push back on you saying things like that?
No, because I think look, diversity is a beautiful thing. And like, I'm so appreciative that I live in California, which is a very diverse place. And I grew up in a diverse environment, and, Tinder was very diverse and
you're diverse.
I'm diverse
from the Middle East.
Yep. My parents came here with like nothing, but again, that's what's beautiful about America, right? My parents came here with nothing as immigrants. They didn't even speak English.
They speak Farsi.
They speak Farsi. And they spoke a little English, and they were able to, rather than being suppressed for who they are, they were able to rise up work hard, pursue a dream. And if they succeeded, great. And if they failed, they didn't blame someone. They blamed themselves. They took accountability and responsibility. And that is like at the core of what America is about. And I think we can never forget that. And just like, great companies are built that way, great teams are built that way. And you can't have meritocracy without freedom of speech, because if I'm not willing to listen or have your ideas, we're not having a marketplace of ideas, then the best ideas will just not be heard.
Yep. It's absolutely true. And who gets to say? That's always my problem with free speech.
Mm-hmm.
You're maybe more understanding than I am. I don't always want to talk to some people that have ideas that I find pretty abhorrent. Sometimes I will, but sometimes I think, no, that's okay. That's somebody else's cross to bear. But I don't want anybody telling me whose ideas should be listened to and who shouldn't.
Absolutely.
Line in the sand. And I think Iran is a perfect example of what happens if you allow that.
Absolutely.
I mean, talk about that country in the 60s and 70s, and then what happened during the revolution.
Well, it was under the Shah, Iran was becoming very westernized. You had a desire to innovate. You had a sort of this idea of the individual, you were looking at America and saying, oh, we want the American dream. And we want the ability for small businesses, for people to grow in any direction and but still have this common sense of identity. And then that was under attack by religious fundamentalism that said, no, you can't be whoever you want. You got to be this. And if you're not this, we're going to persecute you. Anytime you see that, like, look throughout history. Whenever you've had one group say, if you're not this, you're bad, that leads to poverty, fighting, war, and that's what's special about America. This is not. It's the land of the home of the free and the brave, and be who you want and pursue your own path. And doesn't mean I need to agree with you, but I'm not going to like suppress you. Not going to prevent you from being who unless you hurt someone. Then fuck off. Then then I'll show up and I will I'll protect my family.
Well, that's when we have the Second Amendment to protect the first.
Exactly.
Sean, this was amazing. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you.
A lot of sexual innuendos. I noticed that they got pretty good traction, so I did utilize that. Here's a funny story for one that I did. I used to slap my butt, which I really regretted. I really regret doing this. I used to show my ass, not my whole ass.
Just a little piece.
So what happened was there was one video that this was when I was just me editing. Not a very good editor, by the way. And I was editing a short form or a TikTok video. This is like maybe my 4th or 5th or 6th TikTok video, maybe 10th. And they all did pretty good. I upload the video and it does like 8 million views in like less than an hour. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on with this? This one's going crazy. It's not even that good of a video. I'm actually pissed off that why didn't the pizza one do better than this? It was like it was like a grilled cheese, or I don't even remember. And I accidentally left in about 25% into the video. There's this shot where I meant to cut off the back half of that clip, but I didn't. And it was 5 seconds left in the clip that I didn't cut. And in that 5 seconds, I turned around and bent over to grab something out of the drawer. I guess I cut it. I didn't cut it short enough. So I did cut it, but not short enough. And so it's literally just me turning around and full ass bending over. The only reason I realized that is I went in the comments and they're like, Jesus Christ, he's got 2 yellow onions back there. That's crazy. I started doing that and they went viral every time I did it. And then I stopped doing it because I was like, this is weird. And now other people do that too. Have you seen that guy, the guy that sexualizes everything in food? I can't remember. Is it like Cedric something?
No. What does he do?
Cedric Lorenzen.
Oh, I got to check this out.
I don't even know if you can show a clip.
Really?
It's really sexual.
Okay, we're definitely showing a clip. So let's see if we get kicked off YouTube. There's also that other guy who says like, bon appetito, betches, or something.
Oh, QCP?
Yeah, QCP.
Yeah, he's wild.
There seems to be a formula for cooking at this moment, videos. In cooking videos, the formula seems to be like, there's obviously some ASMR component of it. It has to be cut pretty quick. It has to be like relatively accessible recipes. Like they can't be too wild and crazy.
Yeah.
And then there's some funny entertainment aspect to it.
I would agree.
Do you have like a formula? You're like, this is what works now?
I also think there's another thing in that as well.
Yeah.
I think or you have presence. Ooh. People know who you are. Right? If Cameron Diaz was in this kitchen and I took a video of her and she had no formula, I think it would probably do pretty good. Right?
That's true. Yeah.
It's Cameron Diaz.
Yeah.
People know me pretty well and me and food already. And they know me because of my YouTube channel and so on and so forth. So I think that honestly, a lot of my videos do well just because it's me.
Yeah.
And I don't really always consider formula, but we do have generally a direction a video is going to go before we produce it. I think the number one thing, the formula that I always follow is, honestly, I follow my own viewing intuition. Very much of like timed cuts, if that makes sense. So I'm very formulaic on how long the attention span lasts per cut. And that's really the main thing that I follow. But like in terms of a saying or like having a saying or whatever, that might make sense for someone starting out that doesn't have a presence already. Yeah. I feel like if you are starting out and you don't know where to begin, especially with food content, what you should do is figure out who you are as a person and reflect that. Don't create a character. because a lot of people create characters, and I don't think that that's a great way to be happy.
No, I think you get stuck.
Yeah, find who you are and emphasize that. You know, if you're like the quiet person who's awkward, fucking let that out. Be awkward on camera. Be quiet and weird. I'm telling you, it will do well. There are so many videos of weird ass shit that do well, and I think that will cultivate an audience of people who associate with that type of a person.
Like, you're pretty much exactly the person I see in your videos, except maybe your videos have a slightened volume turn up effect.
Totally.
But like everything you do in them, I go, oh yeah, I've seen that face before. Like
Exactly.
just hanging out.
I don't put on a character. If anything, I put myself in a moment. I'm like, oh, what's the energy in this shot? And I just need to bring that energy out, right? If I was like, you know, I show up and it's 9 a.m. and, you know, I just had my coffee and I've already worked out and I'm maybe just still kind of like, you know, in my head about something that bothered me earlier. And I show up on set and I know that we're filming pickups for a shot that's 10 minutes into a video. I'm not going to be like, all right, and then you put the butter in the pan. You know, it's like, oh, they've been watching for 10 minutes and I was talking a certain way. I just need to bring that back in, you know, so that's the other way.
How do you guys create a ton of content.
Yep.
And you create really high value content and you seem to go viral every single time. You're getting huge views across multiple platforms. How do you keep the creative aspect flowing with the fact that you're like a production house now?
If you make a video and it does crazy views, the first thing you should do is not give a fuck. You need to get out of the whatever feelings you have attached with those views. You need to murder those feelings and look at it formulaically and figure out how to rinse and repeat that process. But honestly, the bigger you get, people think it's like, there are things that are easier. It's wonderful to have a production company. You know, I pay people pretty well, and it's expensive to run a company. Very expensive, actually.
Yep.
Look, I'm not going to say numbers, but the simple reality is if you are going to run a business and you're going to produce content and you're going to pay people, please understand that it's going to feel very volatile. It's going to feel very stressful. It's going to feel very pressuring. And now all of a sudden the videos that you're producing, they have to perform. So how do you make that work? Well, you need to have a thick skin. You need to be ready to, like, that should not bother you. You should still be able to be creative and expressive. And how are you creative and expressive? By not being stressed out. Good luck with that. So I think a lot of people will fail there. So first ask yourself if that's something you want to live with. But that said, the way that we do it is it's very feeling based. I have, you know, my top performers that are always by my side. We're always working together on creative. I mean, you saw it on the front of these doors. We have written on the front of our doors to the kitchen, it says honor the audience. I think in the same way for a chef, what makes a great chef is not just making good food. That should be the easy part. Good food should be the easiest fucking part of your job. What makes a great chef is first being the artist, but also being the business person, being the financial analyst, being the marketer. That's what makes a great chef. So if that's what makes a great chef, then to me, that's what would make a great content production studio, is you have to be both. And the best way to mesh it is to bring out your creative, allow yourself to be creative, come up with things that resonate with you, because if they resonate with you, they'll probably resonate with your audience, but then find a way to honor their presence when they're watching you, which means, you know what? I love this shot. I don't think everyone's going to love this shot as much as I am. I just don't. Like, I just know. I know that people will watch this 2-minute segment of me doing this thing and maybe, you know, maybe 100,000 people will appreciate it, but I need 9 million people to appreciate it.
Yeah. It's really, I think one of the toughest parts that I've realized about the content game is it is the most competitive game there is. There is zero moat to this game, and you are competing for the highest and most expensive commodity that we have in this day and age, which is people's attention.
Yep.
It is the only thing that we cannot create more of, and we have infinite optionality for what to do with it.
It's true.
I mean, you are competing with Donald Trump in the same time that you're competing with the hottest new Star Wars movie, in the same time that you're competing with every single TikToker and actually the algorithm of TikTok driving the most viral things out there.
And it's free.
And it's free.
Anybody can do this.
Right.
You're competing with every single human being on planet Earth because anyone can walk in and just make content.
So I think it's a really good thing to ask yourself, do you actually want to play this game?
Very competitive. You have to have a thick skin. But also I think the biggest thing, because I feel like the way I said it made it sound like I don't enjoy this. I love this shit. Like, I love doing this. Like, I love it so much that the competition is not me. I don't feel like I'm competing with anybody. I don't feel like I'm fighting to beat X person. I'm fighting because I want to do this forever. And if somebody thinks that they're going to beat me because they want to make better content than me specifically, they will lose to me. They will lose.
Why do you think you have that type of attitude?
It's sort of like fighting for necessity over fighting for glamour. And I think when you fight for glamour, you eventually will fizzle out and lose not just steam in terms of like viewership, but you'll lose the motivation to do it over time. Because if you're fighting for something that doesn't actually really matter to you and actually matters more to other people, like your image and your how fancy you look and this, that, and the other, yeah, you're going to run out of energy. It's really hard. Like, you really have to like be fighting for something that feels more like necessity, and something that you know, I fight to continue to do what I do. I love to do this. I want to do it forever. And yeah, I mean, that's a tough argument to beat.
I was thinking about this idea yesterday that I'm calling the law of more, which is basically if you look at some of the best producers or artists of all time, like Picasso, you mentioned before. Picasso has something like 200,000 prints and paintings that he did to become the most prolific artist of all time. If you look at Taylor Swift, she was like back and forth between being on tour or creating an album for the entirety of her career since she's been 16 years old.
It's crazy.
Which is why she's now almost has more albums than any other soloist.
Yeah.
I do think there's some balance between quantity eventually becoming, with relentless focus, quality.
Absolutely. How can you create quality without the reps?
Like, if you want to be great, do a lot.
Yes, that is the game. Volume is the game, 100%. Working in restaurants, it's all I really know. I didn't go to college. So a lot of people like to make fun of me sometimes because they're like, oh my God, he always talks about how he works in restaurants. It's all I know. Like, what do you want from me? People talk about when they went to college, and they don't get shit on for that. I didn't go to college. I didn't have any formal studies. I went and worked in a brutalist environment, and I worked in fucking restaurants. And the number one lesson that I learned was you can become great at anything if you are willing to perform the relentless amount of repetition that it requires to become great at it. And it may be 500 times, it may be 5,000, it may be 10,000, it may be 100,000, it may be 1,000,000. It depends on how quickly you learn. It depends on so many factors, but I do believe that anyone can be great at almost anything. It's just, how many reps is it going to take? And are you going to be able to do all those reps?
Yeah, it's so true. I've become kind of friends with Tim Grover. Tim wrote a book called Relentless, and I think it's a really good screen. If people love that book, they're going to like working in my companies. If they don't, they're not. So I agree with you there. Now, one thing you did that I think is fascinating that you don't get enough credit for and people don't talk about is the book launch. Like, I want to obsess for a second on how to launch a best-selling book in a way that is not ads, that is not, even at the time you had a big audience, not the biggest audience, but you sold hundreds of thousands of copies of a cookbook before cookbooks were like mainstream everywhere. Talk to me about how you did that. How do you get 3,000 people to line up to wait to see you for a cookbook signing?
Yeah, that was wild. And also, for reference, for the cookbook signings, any of my audience watching, we're working on creating a better method. Okay, we weren't expecting that many people to show up. We didn't do any paid advertising. There wasn't like, oh, let's put a billboard up. It was all completely organic push for the book. Funny enough, actually, we did do one ad campaign. We did for free. We were doing this thing with Pinterest. We were working with Pinterest, and they gave us free ad space. We used the ad space. You wanna know what's funny? Less than 1% of our sales came from that.
Wow.
And the amount of ad space they gave us was $200,000 worth of ad space. Less than 1% of my sales came from that.
What was the difference?
Authenticity, I think.
Yeah, but it's way more tactical than that. You were systematic as a motherfucker when you were inserting your book. Like, I went back and looked through a bunch of your videos. It's almost like you never marketed because you were in restaurants, but somebody taught you the book. Like, you would be cooking and then you'd be like, yeah, I'm thinking about chicken legs. Ooh, like on page 57 in my cookbook.
Yeah.
Talk about that insertion project.
It became tactical because I care so much about the viewer's experience. So much so that I modified my marketing perspective to whatever I do, if I'm going to promote my book, it will be in a way that is entertaining and not just totally boring and disruptive from the content that they chose to, so kindly give me their time to watch, the last thing I want to do is deter them with a shitty promo.
What would that be? A shitty promo would be like you with the book, like, look, I'm trying to hit the New York Times bestseller list.
Yeah, like people say you should be direct with the audience and say like, oh, my cookbook is out. I mean, I did say that, and I did have some promos like that. Like I did, right? But if every promo is like, my book is out, go and get it. Like, that's not meaningful. Like it feels very much like, give me your money, motherfucker. And I just don't, I'm not like that. And certainly it's frowned upon from the world that I come from. Always be reserved. Don't, ask for too much. And so I was just trying to avoid being like that. And I think that's how we formulated the whole marketing around, if we're going to have you buy something, we're going to make it entertaining. And even more than that, we're going to lead up to it with value before we deliver that. We're not just going to go, book's out. Okay, now let's get to the value. It's like, no, value, 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 value. By the way, silly fun thing, goo goo gaga, I'm going to wipe my butt with my book, which I did. Not literally, but I made it look like that. I launched my book by wiping my ass with a page of it. I tore a page of my book out. I was like sitting on the toilet and I look over and the camera cuts to the empty toilet paper roll and it cuts back to me and I pull up a sheet of my book and I'm like, and then it cuts to a black screen, and then it's basically like fades in. It's like, my book is officially out. Like da 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 da. My publisher was like, "Dude, I can't believe you did that. Like,
did it
please,
work?
Please, please delete that out of the video." I'm like, "We can't." Yeah, we sold like 60,000 copies that day. It was crazy.
So it's basically like giving a little bit more love and juice to the idea of even trying to get your audience to sell something or to buy something.
Yeah.
Honor the audience would be. I mean, sometimes when I'm talking to my team, I think, one, you should never write a love letter to whom it may concern, right? That makes no sense. And yet most marketing is not named towards you, is not written like you would write a text to a buddy, and is not actually going to get somebody to pick up and do something.
Yeah.
It's written like a corporate speak that makes you want to gouge your eyes out. Yeah. And so instead, yours is kind of the opposite. And you almost lean into the thing that you don't want people to do, which is think that your book is shit.
Yeah, I've also done campaigns where I was like, here are the things that my book is good for. Using it as a shovel, or like using it to put hot things on it. I put a really hot pan on it. It caught my book on fire, because it was so hot that it literally caught the pages on fire. And it's just sort of like, just being silly. And there was one where I literally said, don't buy my book, fuck you. And a ton of people bought it that day. And it was sort of like this thing of like, what it tells the audience is it's not reverse psychology. I mean, maybe it is, but I wasn't trying to be reverse psychological. What it tells my audience is it says, I don't fucking care if you buy my book or not. I made it for you and I worked really hard on it and it's good and you've trusted me all these years. Here it is. If you don't want to get it, I don't care. Like, it's good. That's it. Me writing the book is good enough for me. And most people, I think, can really resonate with that and they can sit back and go, wow, he doesn't even need me to buy this shit, but I've watched him for, 3-4 years or 2 years. He's always been consistently good. Why wouldn't I get it? And look how confident he is in it. Yeah, like, sure, I'll buy it. It's, $20 or whatever,
What is the process when you're thinking about ads for your book? Do you think about it just like any other type of content?
I treat it exactly like content.
Yeah.
Which is what's the creative? What's the story? Is there a story? Is it a joke? Is it silly? Is it serious? Is it angry? Is there a point I want to make with it? It should be entertaining without the book being there, basically. It should be entertaining without the product being there. Are we going to put it in a scenario where it doesn't belong? It's like, it's a cookbook. Should we pretend to do an ad about getting a lobotomy and like do something crazy where like I pretend to have a lobotomy and I'm promoting my book and I have no idea what's on the inside of the book and that's the creative? It's like, if it is just fun to watch, that's enough for me, and you can never guess how many people will follow through with it until it gets to them, right? So at least if you entertain them, it's better than nothing.
I think I want to tap really quickly into, so we've talked about how to sell books. We've talked about how to build a content empire. We haven't talked a ton about how your goals have changed over the course of, you were 21 when you first started. Is that right?
Man, was I? Holy fuck.
You're 28 now.
How old was I? Jesus, I honestly don't even know.
Early 20s?
It was probably 5 years ago I officially left. So yeah, so 5 years ago.
5 years ago. So 5 years ago, you leave the restaurant and you probably just want to replace your salary, right? You're like, I just want to, well, you had already by then. I just want to make more money than I do at this other place, and I want to be my own boss, and I want to grow online. To now, you know, I have a best-selling book. Oh wait, I have 2 best-selling books. Oh wait, I'm one of the biggest YouTubers out there on cooking. What is next, and how has your goal changed as you've climbed your varying mountains?
You know, it's funny, it actually hasn't changed. I would say most people get into this nowadays by accident, right? They're like, oh, I made this video and it went viral one day, and then I kept, no, motherfucker, that's not what happened here. Like the 2 hours of sleep every night, that was not by accident. I didn't accidentally, you know, hustle my ass off. It was very much of like when I started, I knew exactly what I wanted to build. And that vision of what that is, that like thing that I see in the distance is still there. I look at it every day. And I have been looking at it for probably the past, I don't know, decade of my life, or maybe even longer, because, you know, I started cooking when I was 5, and I've cooked almost every single day all the way up till today. And so I've done the fucking 100 million hour rule, you know, whatever that is. When I was 11, this is the differentiator here. When I was 11 or 12 is when I saw Gordon, and I was like, I want to make something like that. I think I can do something like that. And he was a big inspiration for me. And that created a goal in my brain then. And so every decision I've ever made has always been this North Star that I'm looking at, which is to build what I'm building now, but much bigger, with varying different things in it. You know, I don't want to like give the whole thing away, but like, you know, that big goal has never changed. I think the only thing that has changed is the way I approach things. I'm much less emotional about things. I approach things much more analytically. You know, all the sorts of things that you go through when you build a business is like, you get beat up a bunch, and then you kind of like learn how to regulate your emotions.
You almost run out of money. You almost get sued. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. You almost get sued. Totally. That's happened. And you just kind of learn, oh, this is just running a business. Okay, cool. Well, I have this part down and this part down. What else do I need to learn to get better at this? What else do I need to like try out? And you learn how to be like, oh, the next venture, I need to take a risk again. Fuck, I need to feel the sense of risk again. You know, and that's where I'm at right now, where I'm like, I'm taking on more risk now to do the next step.
Yeah, there's got to be some huge correlation between risks taken from a business perspective and amount of success had. Yeah. Because I think that's the biggest thing that people don't understand. If you're not risking something, I mean, the other day we just raised a bunch of money, and I put in millions of dollars for a company that we're scaling in the SaaS space. And I bought it, and now we're building it. And, you know, I told some of the investors that gave us money, you know, I, knock on wood, have never lost money for anybody to date, and I'm not going to start now. And he kind of turned and looked at me. His name's Donald Park. He was like, if you have never lost anybody's money and you have never failed on a business, you are not taking big enough risks. And I was like, or I'm really good. He's like, never the case.
Whoa, that's crazy. That's deep.
And it's kind of true, right? Like if you haven't done a video where you're like, this video, I do not know if it's going to work, and we're going to spend $30,000 on it, and fuck, it totally failed, but we learned a bunch of things from it.
Yeah, it's happened.
Yeah.
Bunch.
What do you think's the most money you've lost on one video?
75,000, I think.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah. I've lost hundreds of thousands of dollars on videos. Yeah, multiple 6 figures I've lost on videos, but it's sometimes difficult to calculate what that really means, because what is a loss on a video? Especially on long form, because long form is really powerful. It's not like short form. Someone can watch a short form video and not give a shit about you. They can watch 20 of your videos and not give a shit about you. But long form is a commitment. You're watching a 30-minute, 20-minute video. I mean, people are, my video is like 20, 25 minutes. People are watching television show, basically. It's like, you could look at the back end of YouTube and basically go, how much money did the video make and how much should I spend on it? And then do your math and be like, this was the ROI, right? But that's not always the case though, because if you gained 50,000 subscribers, solid subscribers from that video, and then they all watch like, 100 videos each, then you're way above your ROI from that. If you think about it, I see it more as an investment than a loss, but I try to be careful with that as well. Yeah.
Well, I think, creating content online is sort of like running a startup. even if you've been doing it for a long time, because you just have to spend so much money consistently on content with the hopes that it'll eventually turn into more money or just an ability to continue doing the thing that you love to do. And I think that's the hardest part that people don't realize as content creators is they think that they're artists, but they don't realize your component, which is this business component.
That's true.
I want to like wrap up a little bit on the food front, or my husband will kill me because he hates being called the word foodie, so I won't use that. He likes to cook.
Word.
It's a naughty. Why is people hate that.
It's just cringy, you know. It's just kind of like
I'm a breathy.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
It's like yeah, I would have said that in 2007 and looked back at it and regretted saying that. You know, I don't know.
I've heard, for instance, that some chefs like cooking for themselves but not for others, or like cooking for others but not themselves. But there's a big chasm between the two.
Oh wow, I've actually never thought of that before.
So which one are you?
I don't like cooking for myself as much as I like cooking for others.
Interesting.
Yeah, by far. I'll spend days on a dish, and by the time I'm done, I'm like, God damn, I don't want to eat this shit. Yeah, somebody else eat it.
Interesting.
I've been looking at it for days. I do not want to eat this. You know, I'll have a little spoonful and I'm good.
Yeah.
But I'm excited to serve it to people.
So that's the nurturing aspect that you talked about.
Maybe it is. Yeah, maybe it is. Or it's like me being like, I know the best experience of this and I want you to experience it and enjoy it the same way that I do. And I'm going to create a situation where you can. I
was reading some studies the other day on women today. And more than 60% of women today have never had a man cook for them below 35, which I thought was fascinating.
That makes sense.
And I was wondering, one, what's your take on that? And two, do you think it's like an unfair advantage as a man to be able to cook and to like cooking for another?
It shouldn't be an unfair advantage. It seems like such a basic thing. We're the only animals on the planet that cook our food before we eat it. Why does everyone not know how to cook? That's like a evolutionary enigma. That's incredible. It's literally in our DNA. Yeah, it is an advantage. Totally. It was my advantage. I'll tell you that. It's definitely my advantage for a long time. Okay, you know, my wife knows. It was definitely my advantage. And it was my advantage with her too, by the way.
Do you teach a lot of young men how to cook? Like, do you see them in the comments learning from you and implementing it?
My audience on YouTube is over 75% men.
That's great.
Isn't that crazy?
My husband, yeah. He's
it's
just rewatching it like a creep. So if you're new, I know this is like a 101 level, but say you're a dude, because most of our content is dudes watching it. Say you're a dude and you want to impress a chick, but you suck at cooking. Where would you start? Is there like 3 dishes that you're like, this is doable, but also a crowd pleaser?
Totally. Before you even start, you need to like research and understand the person you are cooking for. Yeah. Do not assume. Do not assume. Don't think that you're the big shot that's going to make the big fancy dinner. Just shut the fuck up and listen and figure out what kind of a woman they are. You know, what if they're vegan and you don't know?
You break up with them immediately.
First you have a very, very important conversation.
Just kidding.
Yeah, more important than anything. You do pretty. One time I found this vegan cookbook in Kate's desk, and it was like a movie scene where you find like a text,
yeah.
But instead it was a vegan cookbook, and I was like, what is this? And she's like, oh, it's like a vegan cookbook, and I'm like, I can't be with you if you do this.
I literally have a meat meat dryer?
A dry ager. Yeah.
I have a dry ager.
Yeah, if you don't like the smell of 42 dry aged ribeye come fresh out the fridge, being sliced into a 2.5-inch thick steak, it's going to be cooked perfectly to 135 degrees Fahrenheit, internal, medium rare, and topped with an au poivre brandy sauce, you fuck. We can't be in love.
Exactly. And she ignored you and walked back into the kitchen. Yeah. As one does.
She's like, you're done.
Ask them questions first.
Figure out who the person is. Figure out what they like to eat.
Audience demographic survey. Got it.
Now, assuming that they're a meat eater, assuming that they, like beef, I would always have a beef dish in there. I think beef is really easy to make luxurious and nice and fun. Save that to the end if you're doing coursed out. Another thing is a dessert. Pick a really nice dessert or a dessert that's easy to please, like chocolate chip cookies. I'm telling you. Oh, yeah. Telling you.
Totally.
You gotta have a dessert in your arsenal. If you make a killer chocolate chip cookie, I think that alone you'll win.
What's like the one little trick? Is it just like sprinkling a little Himalayan sea salt on top? Is there like one little secret?
Sea salt? Whoa.
Shows you.
We're going traversing the mountains or some shit.
Yes. Yes.
The trick is using my recipe.
Yeah. Page 42.
Yeah, no, I don't know.
Okay, fine.
I don't know. But in my first book, I have a really good chocolate chip cookie recipe. If you do need one, you're going to use. But that aside.
Okay, so steal that.
Yeah, so steal that. It's a chocolate chip cookie or some sort of dessert. And then I guess the third, like it could be a protein, or I would say some sort of nice either side dish / appetizer, or like a starch. Like a really nice mashed potato, or like a risotto.
Do you have one you really like?
In the new book, I have a 1 pound of butter mashed potato. That's really good.
Okay, that sounds amazing.
It's insane.
So we go on a mashed potato. We got a what? Is it like a steak? So what we're going with? Steaks seem intimidating to me. Like, seems like you could really fuck up a steak.
It's really not hard. I think that's why it's such a great choice. The first thing I cooked for Kate was a steak. Seal it.
Okay. So it's actually pretty straightforward. You follow the recipe. You don't have to French feel it. And a steak is doable for most humans. Okay.
Yeah, and I think just honestly, there are so few men that cook, I think, for their ladies in their life, or the ladies they wish were in their life, that just cooking, you're already so far ahead. I only think you're gaining maybe a 10 to 20% additional advantage by getting really crazy with it.
That's true.
But I think if you go too crazy, like most women will be like, oh, are you a chef? Like, that's cool. Then it becomes this like career thing. Just make a good steak and potatoes and call it a day, Make a great steak, like an incredible steak with a really nice sauce and like a mashed potato and like maybe some roasted broccolini with a little lemony sauce on it, and just call it a day. If you're the one making it, you're like miles ahead of everybody else. And it's super simple.
Yeah, plus pair it with like a nice French wine.
Yes, know your
cheaper. Wine. By the way, than most California wines.
Yep. And if you're in California or you're in New York and got one of those fancy girls, make sure it's an orange wine, okay?
Okay. I think we've just solved incelibacy in the U.S. for young men. Like, food probably solves that problem. Yep. And I think it's the same thing for young women, because these days, like, there's this, kind of girl boss femme movement. Yep. But Chris, my husband, who loves to cook, will tell me that, like, one of the nicest things I can do for him is just take care of his stomach. And so I like, as much as food seems simple and obvious and genetic, like, if we need to get back to this idea of loving one another a little bit more, of being slightly happier, I think a lot of it starts with our stomachs.
Totally.
And so I think it's a beautiful movement you have, which is why I wanted to talk to you, because, we're really big on this idea of community and ownership in this country. And where does most community happen? Around the dinner table. And yet we have lost it. We have, like, most families now spend more time in front of the TV than they do in meals together, by far.
Phones now.
100%. And, we believe that this ability to Uber Eats our way and DoorDash our way to everything, which is beautiful, and there is a place for that, and I use it plenty, is just as good as sitting down with our loved ones and actually cooking something for them. And I just don't think that's true. And so I think this is a really important movement.
Totally. I mean, simple reality is, when people think of cooking, and this is coming from the millions of messages, DMs, comments that I've read, is people only look at one thing when they think of cooking. They look at the inefficiency of it. They look at the fact that they're going to have to clean up afterwards. They only look at every single negative aspect of it, so much so that they don't even think about, is there even a benefit? Because the answer is yes, but they cannot look past this wall, which isn't a wall at all. It's this fake veil that's in front of them. And it's like, are you serious? Like, you go through life, you pay your taxes, you go through devastation, emotional devastation, you deal with the hardship of family, you deal with the hardship of just life in general. You don't want to, like, fucking clean a few pots and pans because you're afraid of having to take the time to fucking clean them, but you'll spend 2 hours on TikTok. Like, let's be real for a second and maybe just try it and see if there was a benefit. And I would say more times than not, the benefit comes in many forms, which is what you learn from cooking, I think, can be applied to life. I think there's a lot to be learned about patience. There's a lot to be learned about focusing on one thing for 30 minutes or an hour. Giving all of your attention and effort to Brussels sprout, as silly as it sounds, there is a level of release there that you won't get anywhere else, because there's nothing left in society today where you will give that much attention to something so seemingly insignificant.
It's beautifully said. I think the best part of my day every day almost is Chris and I have a rule where we do not come home and eat separately. We always eat dinner together if we're home. And it's become a ritual. You know, we have this little candle that we light. We always do a cheers, and the cheers isn't allowed to be repeated. So like every night we have to kind of come up with something that we think is special and worthy of cheersing at the end of the day. And then we cook, and we don't get that fancy with it. You know, he has your cookbook, so we copy some of your homework.
Love it.
But the thing that I look forward to is it's an opportunity to really pair with your other human.
Totally.
And it doesn't even have to be your partner, but whether that's friends or family, I truly think that there's some movement back to traditionalism in the US, and we're starting to see it. You know, you and I both have friends that we could name and know who are in the massive productivity above all else bucket. And let me tell you what, happiness is not the thing that they chase. And often like that joyfulness in life is missing because they are in the pursuit of what society tells us is important, which is, you know, money and more. Taking a little step back and feeding another human because it is a necessity to life is really, really beautiful.
Yeah. People are very black and white though. You can still be, you know, a hyper efficiency focused person. The irony is restaurants are all about efficiency, which is kind of silly, but you could still be that person that's all about, I mean, I'm not saying unhappy, but that's all about growth and everything, you know, make the numbers go up, make more money, make a bigger business, do things to the highest of high. But like, it doesn't mean that you have to eliminate and annihilate all forms of things that could be technically not moving that dial. Because I guarantee you do things in your day, every day, no matter who you are, I don't care who you are, that are not moving the dial like you think it is. They're just not. It's going to be okay if you take an hour and a half or 2 hours to make a meal even once a month. It's going to be okay. Like whatever you want to do in life, you're probably going to be okay.
The other thing people are obsessed with these days is being fit and food being a function, not an art form in many ways. And, you know, you've had this fascinating balance of losing hundreds of pounds, simultaneously making recipes that are not quote unquote healthy and sampling them and trying them. Can you be both somebody who loves food and experiences it and fit and healthy?
Totally. 100%.
And how?
It's very hard. But I mean, I guess we have to redefine what healthy means also, right? Like, is healthy having six pack, or is healthy, you know, being a healthier weight, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I guess if we're really going to trim this down to what people really care about, it's like, how do I not be fat? Is like kind of the question, right? That's what people really care about. They don't give a fuck about being healthy. They would be more than happy to die at 68 with a six pack.
Dude, that's actually exactly right. I think that's why people hate Brian Johnson. They're like, don't live forever, who cares, but I want to look hot and fuckable.
Yeah, I would love to live longer. I don't know when I'm going to die, but I sure as fuck don't want to ruin my quality of life just so that I can live 3 years longer. Whoop-de-fucking do. I mean the goddamn steak. What I will say is the way you can balance it is, you know, you don't need to eat crazy every day. I mean, I think some intentionality behind your eating is probably good. Right now I'm like on a more extreme diet because I have like a goal that I want to hit just for the sake of my own fitness journey. It's like, oh, you know, I want to like do like a bodybuilding thing and see where I can go with that and try that out. I like having discipline in my life. But the way I do it is like have days that you know, are going to eat a little bit more under your regime of diet, and have days that are maybe a little more loose. Or if you can find a way to, you know, make that a daily occurrence where it's like, cool, for breakfast, I'm not going to go too crazy today. I think I'm just going to have, I don't know, I don't eat breakfast.
I was going to say, you don't like breakfast. That's like your least favorite meal, right?
I don't really eat breakfast that much.
That's so bizarre,
like
but I'll let it go.
I don't know. Let's say like a fried egg on just a piece of toast with a slice of avocado. Really chill, nothing too crazy, not high calorie. I'm just going to eat that and I'm not super hungry, whatever. And then for lunch, maybe you go a little more crazy. Maybe you wanted a burger and fries. Cool, eat your burger and fries. And then chances are you're probably already going to be full for the rest of the day anyway. But it's like, okay, I know what I've eaten today. Using my intuition, I'm going to understand that I probably had a lot of calories. So tonight I'm not starving. I'm just going to have like a chicken breast and some rice and call it a day, you know, and eat vegetables. I mean, you have to find whatever split works for you. Just maybe be mindful about how you're eating, and just, that's one way to do it.
Yeah, I think the beautiful part there is like, listen, you can be Brian Johnson. You can be Peter Attia. You can be the fittest of the fit and be obsessed with that. Or you can have your glass of red and steak and also be pretty fit. And so I think it's really cool that you're pairing the two together. And I expect on the next cookbook, you have your eyebrow raised and the six-pack on the
Yes,
cover.
that's
Is that
true.
what we're going for?
That's what we're going for.
Are you, it's either
I have
abs or
crazy
ass guy.
glutes. I have crazy glutes. I'm not even joking. It's actually insane. I don't know why. I think it's a genetic thing. Like, I don't have like the biggest, most like, thick biceps, and my traps aren't like some guys have like huge traps, but I have crazy back and crazy glutes.
So maybe that'll be on the cookbook.
Yeah. It'd be funny if the front of the book was like me sitting or like me standing, and it's like abs, shirtless, and an apron, and I have an apron on.
Yeah.
And then on the back of the book, it's my bare ass because you can't see because my apron's covering my legs.
I love this for you. I think we just decided, you guys can put in the comments if you want to see Josh's butt on the back of his cookbook.
Please don't. Please.
You just send him a picture of yours, but not full frontal. Yeah. And I think we've really wrapped this up. Is there anything else you want to tell humans who are probably not as into food as you are, but might just find a place in their heart for it?
So many things I'd like to say. Well, what's the general vibe of the people watching before I answer?
Probably somebody like me, like somebody who doesn't know what a sous vide is, or also the mise en place, or whatever the fuck that side dish.
Floss is like the most known term. I'm shocked.
That is not.
Even my wife knows what that means.
Well, your wife is married to a chef.
Yeah, but she knew before that.
She knew before that. Yeah. I would also like to know in the comments who knows what a is it?
Mise en place.
So they're people like me. So probably, not big chefs, not big cooks, but relatively successful and on the path thinking about success. And I think we want to slow them down a little bit, get them to think about food, or if you have anything you want to say on content too. You can really go wherever you want here.
Just seek out one good eating experience. Like, work really hard to seek that out, something really special, and be really intentional about how you do it, and just do it once. And I think the rest will kind of make itself after that. If you choose the right eating experience, I promise you that it'll become more of an internal thought process that grows from there. I don't think anyone needs to go from 0 to 100 and start cooking a sous vide steak and learning what mise en place means or whatever. I don't think that that's what it is. As a matter of fact, my whole goal when I started doing this was never to convince anybody to cook. Ooh. As a matter of fact, I despise when people try to convince anyone to cook. Half the time I tell people to go fuck themselves. But what I did want to do was get people interested and use food as a vehicle to entertain them, because I think that it will improve everyone's quality of life in some shape or form, whether they cook it or they eat it or there's a fun fact about it, because it's inevitability, an important part of our life. And there is a way for everyone to enjoy food at a really high level somewhere. They just don't seek it out. So seek it out.
Yeah, I just watched a show called Bottle Shock. Have you ever watched that? Old school movie about wine and the creation of the wine movement in California. And it was like the guy who created the first blind wine tasting. Yeah. And what I liked about it, what I like about thinking about this too, is in today's society, we really think there are like, 2 or 3 ways to determine success. Typically it's like your career, maybe it's your bank account, maybe it's also like your health and familial situation. Are you married? Do you have kids? But when I watch movies like that and I see microcosms like food, I remember that there is an entire group of humans who have decided to have their own definition of success. And in Bottle Shock, it was like, who can create the most incredible wine imaginable with no interest in anything else, almost no interest in money. And I think one of the cool things about what you talk about is the same thing.
So that's almost like sport. Who's the best?
Yeah.
Everyone loves to be the best, So who's the best winemaker? Who's the best chef? Who's the best pastry chef? Who's the best croissant maker in France? Who's the best chocolatier in France? But the funny thing is, food is probably one of the most subjective things of all time. There is no such thing as the best. There's only what's good to you.
Who's the best YouTuber in cooking? Joshua Weissman.
Nobody. It's definitely a deep thought. I think the only thing I can think of after my statement is just, I feel like a lot of people will be sitting here asking, but why? Like, why? Like, you're telling me to seek this thing out. Like, why should I care? I'm doing just fine. Why? Well, that's fine. I mean, technically you don't have to answer that question, but I will say that, like, everyone in most senses, especially really hardworking people, always feel like there's something missing. And this is something that definitely will add to your life in a way that you may not have considered, that's going to be there anyway. It's one of the only things that's going to be there anyway. You're going to be eating any fucking way. Just take an extra hour and go to a nice restaurant or something, or what have you. If there's one thing that I've seen change people's lives, across the board, regardless of, you know, the color of their skin, who they are, what job what role they do in their career, whatever they're doing in life. Food is easily the one leveling thing that has changed more people's lives than anything else, I think. Oh.
Nailed it.
You guys want the inside scoop. So my little summary here is that I don't want you to let the jokes fool you with Joshua Weissman. You know, what really stuck with me from this interview in particular is the attention to detail in just about everything that he does. You know that saying, the way you do anything is the way you do everything? Well, that is here in excess. I mean, you guys can kind of see it behind me, but this is a real kitchen. You know, a kitchen that costs $300,000 with everything laid out so thoughtfully that he doesn't really have to use his mind. He can use his eyes to the kitchen, as he says. You know, we have this meat smoker over in the corner. We have all of his ingredients labeled and situated perfectly. We have like 13 knives of all different varietals. We have an entire prep kitchen behind us. There's this wild iPad thing, if you guys could see it, where you can click the different color settings in order to determine whether you want something to be backlit or warm lighting, or in this case, a little bit of purple, because this was Tanner's guess today. And so I think the biggest takeaway is